What's going on, YouTube? Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Hopefully you guys can all read, and if you can, I assume you read the title of the video, but for those of you who maybe skimmed over that little detail, today we're doing a new flavor and a new line to the channel, but not a new brand. This is going to be Trifecta's P3, and we had done Trifecta on the channel before, like I said, but that was on their dark line, not this flavor, but the same style can. Today we're going to be introducing the blonde line, so before we get into how the tobacco smokes and all that cool stuff, let's go ahead and look at some of the physical attributes of this tobacco, and we're going to go ahead and start with the packaging itself. As you can see here, the new packaging for Trifecta is quite a bit different from the old packaging we saw a little while ago for Trifecta. Back in the day, they used these really kind of generic looking Starbuzz-esque containers that were tin, and these little tin containers tended to rust when you put your shisha tobacco directly into the container, and I am not a big fan of that, as I'm sure a lot of you know. So what they've done here is they've adopted their dark leaf line of tobacco's packaging. They just made the actual package see-through, so you can see that gorgeous cut of tobacco on the inside, and they changed the palette up just a little bit. But for the most part, you're going to get the dark lines packaging, and that does come through in the lid as well. You are going to have a nice screw-off top that should keep your shisha tobacco nice and fresh for a good long time. Now, since this is a new line to the show, we're definitely going to have to go ahead and pack a bowl of this tobacco so you guys can know what the best packing method for this particular line is. But before we do that, we obviously have to open this up and take a look at the cut so we know what we're working with. As soon as you open this up and take a look at the tobacco inside, you're going to see that you're going to get this very beautiful medium cut tobacco. It's going to be golden in color and not dyed. And I will say that one of the binding agents in this tobacco is going to be honey, and they do have glycerin and molasses in here as well, so those are all going to kind of add to the color of the tobacco itself. Now, unfortunately, the cut for this flavor hasn't been super consistent. As you can see, it's a little bit choppy, but that's not going to be a huge deal. Trifecta's tobacco normally handles pretty well, so a little bit of inconsistency isn't going to necessarily be the end of the world. But now that we've gotten all that dry, boring stuff out of the way, let's go ahead and pack a bowl really quick. Now, to pack a bowl, it's going to be really simple. The first thing you want to do is, as always, open this stuff up and mix it up so all your tobacco is nice and evenly coated with the molasses and glycerin and honey content that's actually inside of the can. And then once you've got it all mixed up, you're going to go ahead and take your funnel bowl, is what we'll be using today. Specifically, it's going to be the Goodfella V4 bowl. Review on this bad boy coming soon. But we're just going to take an oyster fork. I like to use an oyster fork instead of my fingers because it's a little bit messy with your fingers, but if you don't have one on hand, you can go ahead and use your fingers for this as well. But go ahead and load your tobacco around the spire to just above the rim with your fork. Once you've got all your tobacco loaded in up around the spire, what you're going to want to do is take your oyster fork, or if you don't have one, this is a good time to pull out a toothpick or maybe some type of a foil poker, and just rearrange all of the leaves so they're a little bit more even. And once you're done with that, you can go ahead and take the fork or poker, whatever you want to use, and just kind of adjust the leaves to below the rim level. That way it doesn't make any contact with the foil. At this point, we're going to go ahead and put some foil onto the bowl. This is going to be a little bit different from what I normally do on this channel. Up to this point, we've been doing one layer of heavy duty foil shiny side down. This time I'm going to go ahead and use 2 layers of just regular duty foil, and we're going to put those both shiny side down on top of the bowl. I don't think this is necessarily going to make a huge difference, but it's something I'm testing out. So just so you guys know, you can go either or, heavy duty or 2 layers of standard definition, no big deal. But you're going to put them onto the bowl, make sure and get it nice and drum tight, and then you go ahead and run a finger or a thumb or something around the lip of the bowl to kind of seal it up, and you can go ahead and poke some holes under your bowl. I like to do 3 rings and 1 in the middle since I'll be using the Provost. Really quick before we get into the actual smoke of this tobacco, I'd like to show you guys what I'm working with today. It's a pretty simple setup. It's going to be my aviator, and it's kind of how I usually have it, down at half mast, utilizing only one of these stem pieces because it gets really tall when you use both, and that's not my preference. I've got a red bell base on the bottom with the Thunder Dart V2 hose, and I have the Goodfella V4 bowl, like I said, with the Provost on top and 2 Hookah John titanium cubes. Now that we've gotten all that junk out of the way, let's go ahead and start analyzing the shisha tobacco, starting, of course, with the scent. Right off the bat, it's really strong and is very sweet. It definitely smells a bit candied, which does go with the actual packaging. I'm sure you guys know what this is supposed to taste like, but we'll get into that in just a moment. And yeah, maybe a little bit syrupy, but it definitely comes across as very sweet. When you open this up, what you get is this really heavy, strong, and sweet wave of what smells like some type of almost a citrus candy. They do market this as it's supposed to taste like Skittles. I have noticed that in the flavor. Like I said, we'll get into that in a moment. But as far as the scent, it just comes across as a generic fruity candy with maybe some of those citrus notes on the front end of the flavor, or the scent rather. But yeah, it's nothing really specific. It's just kind of a generic fruity candied scent. So moving on to everybody's favorite thing, let's go ahead and take a look at the clouds this stuff could produce. So yeah, as you guys can see, the clouds that this stuff produces are going to be absolutely outstanding. They're going to be big, full-bodied clouds, which you guys should be used to from Trifecta if you're already familiar with it. And if you're not, these clouds are going to be pretty similar to what I get from the dark line of Trifecta. I have noticed more cloudage at the beginning of the session with the dark leaf. And unfortunately, I've noticed in my video reviews that the clouds tend to be bigger on the actual flavor cut sections of the videos than in the cloud content sections of the videos. Maybe I should let my bowl burn for a little bit longer before starting because we're only like 5 minutes into the bowl. But yeah, even this early into the bowl, the clouds are going to be absolutely outstanding, nothing to turn your nose up at. The clouds probably will get even better as the session goes on, we'll see. Maybe I'll blow some more clouds for you a little later in the video, but right now it's time to get into the most important thing when critically analyzing any shisha tobacco, and that's going to be the flavor profile on this tobacco. I'm going to go ahead and do the usual. I'm going to do the flavor profile on both the inhale and the exhale, as I do find that they differ just a little bit. So let's begin with the inhale. Alright, so the flavor profile on the inhale is going to do a really good job at representing the scent you get when you first open this up. It's going to come across as this really almost overbearingly sweet flavor. It's going to be very candied, and I'm having trouble pinning down exactly what candy this tastes like, and that's probably because candies all, for the most part, kind of taste the same. It's just kind of a fruity, sugary kind of a mix-up, because this is going to be that kind of a gummy, fruity candy flavor that's what's going to be going on in this tobacco. Now, I know that they are marketing it as a Skittles flavor, or at least that's what I've been led to believe up to this point. And it definitely does kind of have that Skittles thing going on, but I would just kind of write this off as a just generic type of a gummy, fruity candy flavor. So maybe if you're used to something like those little fruit wedges, maybe I'll put an image right there so you guys can know what I'm talking about. No one knows what I'm talking about when I bring those up. But like those fruit wedges, or maybe like gummy worms, maybe gummy bears, the sour gummy bears, because there is some tart in this flavor as well, but it's very much at the back end. In fact, I didn't really notice it until I smoked it like 3 or 4 times. I really had to pay attention to get that tartness. But yeah, on the inhale, you're going to get this really nice, sweet candied flavor, and it's going to be a little bit sharp as well. I'll get into that when I get into the actual heat management section of the video, where I kind of tell you guys how this stuff takes heat. But before we do that, let's move on to the exhale. Okay, so on the exhale, something interesting happens. The flavor profile, for the most part, remains the same. What you're going to see is the sweetness level come down just a little bit, and the fruitiness kind of stays at the same level, so you might be able to pick out that the prominent fruit flavor in here is going to be citrus, and I'm getting a bit of a lemon flavor. So that's something to keep in mind, although it did take me a while to notice that as well. Now, what really changes is it's kind of, I don't want to say it's harsh or that it's hard to hit, but it's definitely sharp, and I think that's due to the sweetness of this tobacco. But since the sweetness drops off, you're definitely getting much more relaxed, kind of a comfortable feeling when you're exhaling as opposed to when you're inhaling. It's very mild, it's hard to notice, but it's something that I did pick up on when I was testing. Now, before we get to the end of the video and rate this stuff for you, I do want to go over some other tiny things about this tobacco, and the first of which is going to be mixability. How does this stuff do in a mix? And it actually does outstanding in a mix. There's a few ways you can mix this, and my biggest recommendation would be to put some mint in this flavor. My mint of choice to mix with P3 is actually going to be Twice the Ice, which is also from the Trifecta Blonde line. The Twice the Ice I had was from the old packaging. So I got it in a different packaging right now. It's actually one of those Tangier's microwave safe boxes. But you could mix it with that at roughly a 20% to 80% ratio to get a really nice cooling effect. Or you could mix it with like a lemon mint to bring out more of those citrus flavors. And really any type of a fruit flavor is going to be great to mix with this. But I'd go ahead and just experiment because I really haven't had a bad mix yet. I just wouldn't recommend mixing with something like a coffee flavor or a more herbal or earthy flavor because this is not natural at all and they definitely will clash. One last little topic I want to touch on before wrapping the video up is going to be the heat management that this tobacco takes. Now, this tobacco is actually very heat resistant, and I think a lot of that actually goes into the way they produce their tobacco. And what I'm getting at here is the honey. I find that when a shisha tobacco has honey in it, and you know, honey is one of the binding agents, that it takes heat a little bit better. Better might be a little bit of a subjective thing to say. It takes more heat. So even with these 2 cubes, I could actually take a little bit more heat if I wanted to. So maybe 3 cubes is something I could have gotten away with, although that kind of overheats in the Provost a lot of the time. So I do have the lid closed right now and the vents are also closed. As far as how long this stuff will burn for, in a bowl like this, which is the Goodfellow V4, I've got about 18 to 20 grams packed into it right now at a semi-dense, like I was saying before. I would definitely say you could get about an hour 45 minutes out of this bowl, and that's going to be roughly a round and a half of cubes, or if you wanted to be smart, you can do the first round as cubes and then put flats in if you have access to both. Now, taking all of these factors into account, from the scent to the flavor, the clouds, heat management, and mixability and everything, I'm going to rate it on a 10 scale for you guys, just to give you kind of a summary of what I think about the flavor. And looking at it from a 10 scale point of view, I'm going to have to give this tobacco a solid 9 out of 10. Now, why is this tobacco getting a 9 out of 10? Because you guys probably already know, if you saw my lemon mint review, that I'm not the biggest fan of candied flavors. And I think a lot of it has to do with intent. The reason it's not dipping below a 9 is because this flavor lets you know that it is intended to be a candied flavor. So when you go to pack this and smoke it, you're expecting a candied flavor, and it nails it right in the head. And beyond that, you're obviously going to get those huge trifecta clouds, and you are going to get a nice long session, full flavor, and all that good stuff. So it definitely hits all the points that it needs to rate that high as far as the 10 scale goes for this tobacco. The reason it doesn't go any lower is because I really don't have any negative things to say about it. Now, if I was rating this for me personally and people that were like-minded to me who might not like candied flavors so much, I'd probably give it like a 7 or a 6.5. But I didn't do that because I'm trying to remain objective here, and I know a lot of you guys do like candied flavors. So yeah, definitely gonna get a solid 9 out of 10 from me. Now, hey, so you guys like what I had to say about this tobacco and maybe you want to pick it up. My recommendation, as always, would be to go over to 5-Star Hookah to pick this stuff up. I'll leave a link down in the description. It'll take you right to the purchase page. And Alex and Mary will always take care of you guys real good. They've got pretty good shipping time, but beyond that, they have an enormous selection of different hookah products for you guys to choose from, and they have the best prices that I've seen on American soil. So that's definitely something I would recommend. And hey, if the prices aren't quite good enough for you, I definitely recommend using my promo code. That's going to be PIPED15, PIPED15, and that'll actually get you 15% off everything in your entire 5-Star Hookah order, excluding anything that's already on sale, because they cannot be giving you guys shit for free. Now, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I would highly recommend it, because I do put out content on a bare minimum 2 times a week basis. So if you're into this type of content, definitely subscribe. If you like the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. That lets me know that you guys like the content that I'm creating. And if you hated this video, give it a thumbs down and leave a very hateful comment down in the comments below. I'm still going to make the videos, but you know, let me know. And then if you have any comments, questions, criticisms, concerns, anything like that, go ahead and drop those down in the comments box below as well. I'd be more than happy to interact with you guys in any way that you'd like to. I really don't have much of a social life outside of doing this, so talking to you guys is pretty much the bulk of my social interactions. And if you have any requests for any flavors or just hookah products in general that you'd like to see reviewed, leave a request down for those in the comments below as well. I would definitely be willing to bring you guys a review on a product that you might be interested in knowing a little bit more about before actually committing to a purchase. That is going to wrap up my video review on the Trifecta Blonde Line P3. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, happy smoking.